All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today we're diving deep, really deep, into one of the absolute core mechanics of Adobe Experience Manager. I'm talking about the Apache Sling Resolution Process. Now, if you've ever touched AEM, you know this is the foundation of everything. So let's pull back the curtain and really figure out how it works.
You know, it kind of feels like magic, right? A URL goes in, a web page comes out. You hit enter, and boom, there it is. But what's actually happening in that split second? What's going on under the hood? That's what we're going to unravel today. The real magic that connects that string of text in your address bar to the beautiful page you see.
Okay, before we go any further, there is one huge idea we need to get straight. It's the core philosophy of Sling, and it's this. Sling is resource-oriented. Now, what does that even mean? Well, think about a normal website. A URL usually points to a file, right? Like aboutus.html. With Sling, that's not how it works. The URL points to a piece of content, a resource. It's a total shift in thinking, and literally everything else we talk about today flows from this one concept.
So here's our game plan. We'll quickly look at what Sling's resolution is. Then we'll literally take a URL apart piece by piece. After that, we'll follow the trail, from that URL to the content, then to the right script, and finally, we'll talk about why this is such a game changer for you.
All right, let's get into it. So what is Sling Resolution? At its core, it's really just the name for the whole process. It's the journey a URL takes from the moment it hits the server to the moment a page gets built. It's all about mapping that request to the right content and then figuring out how to show it to you.
This flowchart right here, this is basically our treasure map for today. It shows the entire end-to-end journey. See that HTTP request coming in? It flows through finding the content, figuring out what type of content it is, locating the right script to draw it, and boom, out comes the final web page. We're going to walk through every single one of these steps.
Okay, so to follow that map, we first have to understand the language it's written in. And in the world of Sling, the map key is the URL itself. So let's decode one.
We're going to use this URL as our guinea pig. Now, I know, it looks a little busy, maybe a bit complicated at first glance, but you're about to see that Sling reads this like a set of instructions, and every single part has a very specific job to do.
And here's the breakdown. This is the really clever part. Sling doesn't just see a long string of text. It sees puzzle pieces. You've got the content path, that's the what. It points directly to the content. Then you have selectors, things like .printable.a4. That's the how, like asking for a special version. The extension, .html, that's the format. The suffix and parameters, they're just extra info the script can use later. Each part has a purpose.
Okay, so now we can read the address on the envelope. Let's follow the mail carrier as they do the first, most critical step, finding the right building.
So first, Sling breaks down the URL, just like we did. Then it takes that content path and starts walking the digital streets of the Java Content Repository, or JCR. It's looking for a node that matches. If it finds it, great, we've found our resource. But if that path leads to an empty lot, well, that's when you get a 404 error. No building, no delivery. It's that simple. All right, so Sling has the package, it's found the content, but right now it's just a box of data. How does it know what to do with it? I mean, should it be a web page? Should it be JSON? Maybe a printable view? This is where the magic really starts, and it all comes down to a special little property called sling.resourceType.
So, step one is done. Check. Sling followed the path and found the content node. It's holding the what. But the million-dollar question is still, how? How do we turn this data into something useful? And the answer to how is right here, in this property, Sling ResourceType. Now, this is the really clever bit. This property isn't the code itself. Think of it more like a signpost. It's a pointer that tells Sling, hey, the instructions you're looking for, they're over there. And that's the beautiful connection between your content and your code. That value, myproject/components/page, isn't just a random string. Sling maps it directly to a path in the repository, almost always under apps. And that's where your components live. So now, Sling knows the exact folder that holds all the possible assembly instructions for this piece of content.
Okay, now we get to the really nitty-gritty part. Sling has found the right folder, the component folder. But when it looks inside, it might see a bunch of different files. Page.html, printable.html, maybe a get.jsp. It can only pick one. So how does it choose? Well, it goes back to the URL, to those selectors and that extension we talked about. And this right here is the golden rule. I love this quote from Veena Vikraman from the Adobe community. Always understand that selectors have maximum priority. It's all about specificity. The more specific your script's name is to the request URL, the more likely Sling is to pick it. It's always looking for the best possible match. And this table shows you exactly how that works. It's a strict hierarchy, from top to bottom. So if your URL has .print.a4.html, Sling's first choice is a script named exactly print.a4.jsp. Total match. If it can't find that, it'll try something less specific, like maybe just print.jsp. And if it keeps striking out, it'll fall all the way back to the most generic options, like one based on the node name or even just get.jsp. The highest match on this list always wins.
Okay, so this is something that trips a lot of people up. JSP versus Sitely, or .html. Which one wins? The answer isn't just JSP is better or Sitely is better. It all comes back to that hierarchy. For a request ending in .html, a script called html.jsp is a more specific match because it's matching the extension. A script called page.jsp is only matching the node name, which is lower on the priority list. So it's not about the technology, it's about the name and how well it matches the URL.
So there you have it. We've made the full journey, from a simple URL all the way to a rendered page. We've seen how Sling finds the content and then picks the perfect script. But so what? Why does this actually matter? Well, let me tell you, understanding this is basically a developer superpower. Because once you master this, you have absolute control. You can create tons of different views for the same piece of content just by using selectors. Want a JSON output? Easy. A printable version? No problem. And maybe most importantly, when something breaks, you stop guessing. You can look at the URL and know exactly which file Sling is looking for and why it's not working. This knowledge is what takes you from just building components to really architecting smart, flexible solutions. So this whole process, it's not just a trivia night fact. Knowing these rules of the road is the key to unlocking the true power of Sling's content-first approach. It lets you build things that are not just functional, but flexible and elegant. So the real question is, how are you going to use this knowledge to build your next great component?